Listen, I pulled up to my Aunt Marlene's house still in my work clothes, key in my pocket that didn't feel real, and the first thing that greeted me wasn't the porch light or the creak of her swing. It was a white SUV parked dead center across her driveway, like it had been planned, like someone had measured it, placed it, and smiled. There, now he can't get in. Yeah, that happened, and if you think that sounds petty, wait, this is the part where the petty turns into something worse. Let me back up a sec. The house, Marlene's house, sat like a stubborn thumb in a sea of beige, Briar Hollow, Redfield, Tennessee, all the little cookie-cutter roofs and identical mailboxes that scream planned community. Except her place didn't cooperate, built in the 50s, real wood siding. A wraparound porch where I spent summers drinking sweet tea and thinking the world would never change. And then everything changed, but that house, I always thought, would stay the same. I rolled to a stop, stared at the wind chime, and before I could even open my door, a woman from next door walked over, clipboard under her arm like a badge, and said plain as day, "You can't be here. This is an HOA neighborhood." I said, "That's my house." She smiled, that cold, practiced smile. "That was Marlene's house," she corrected, her eyes scanning me for weakness, and then, "Until the association verifies ownership, you don't have rights here." That was her first mistake, thinking my aunt had left a quiet, folding surrender behind. Her name was Dana Wilcox, HOA president, cardigan and all, and she had the kind of expression that thinks standards are the same as power. Paint color non-compliant, fence height violation, lawn maintenance failure. She rattled them off like bullets, eyes on the flowers in my aunt's yard like they were crimes. My throat tightened. My aunt had died 2 weeks earlier, I told her. She nodded like it was inconvenient. "Standards are standards," she said. "You know that gut sink feeling when someone measures your grief against their spreadsheet?" That was it. Inside, the house smelled like lavender and old paperbacks, the crochet blanket still folded on the chair, the mug in the sink, and in the closet, behind winter coats, I found a cardboard file box stuffed with envelopes stamped with the HOA logo. Violation notices stacked like a paper chain, mailbox style, holiday decoration violations, nuisance conditions, property deterioration, fines, late fees, administrative charges piled on top of each other until the math turned into thousands. Then I found the one piece of paper that made my hands go still. A 2017 letter from a real estate attorney, clear as daylight. Marlene's property predates the subdivision. It is not in the plat boundaries. Any lien would be unlawful. She knew. She had proof. She still paid because she wanted peace. And people like Dana rely on that sort of tiredness to win. Next morning, a bright red notice. Unregistered vehicle on property without association approval. $200 fine, 10 days, threat of a lien. I laughed, a single sharp breath, because the audacity of being fined for parking your truck in your own driveway was almost impressive. I walked next door, notice in hand. Dana opened the door like she'd been waiting for her performance, smiled like a charm-turned-blade. "You received it," she said. "Good." I told her the house wasn't in the HOA. I had the deed, the plat map, all the county documentation. Her smile thinned into a whisper. "I know people at the county office, I know the board. People who fight me end up exhausted, broke, gone. Your aunt tried, it didn't change a thing." She said it like a prophecy, like she'd already counted the bodies of quiet neighbors who'd given up. I walked away calm, but my quiet hardened into a plan. Let me be blunt, people like Dana don't stop when you ask nicely. They stop when consequences show up, and consequences require evidence. So I drove to the county clerk, asked for deeds, the subdivision plat, the HOA incorporation docs. Deed recorded 1956, plat filed 2004, HOA incorporated 2005. The papers all lined up like a chorus. Not in your boundaries, Dana. It hit me then. This wasn't just a busybody. It was a protection racket dressed as community standards. I could have stormed back and slammed the documents onto her porch like a finale, but I wanted her to keep showing her hand. People like her get sloppy when they think they're untouchable. So I bought 3 security cameras, porch, garage, driveway, motion alerts, cloud backup, the whole paranoid in a good way setup. Within days, the neighborhood changed. Folks stopped nodding. They crossed the street to avoid eye contact. The quiet became coordinated, a message. The only neighbor who didn't skitter away was Frank Mercer, white beard, porch full of wind chimes, the kind of man who's outlived caring what anyone thinks. "Dana's been on Marlene's neck for years," he said over coffee, thumb scrolling through a neighborhood post where Dana's smiling profile picture accused me of forging inheritance papers. The comments were brutal: scammer, unverified, people who'd never met me shouting me down. That's when grief turned into reputation warfare, and I felt the need to fight for more than a driveway. Then it escalated, real scary escalation. At 3:19 a.m., a black pickup rolled into the driveway with lights off, parked inches behind my truck. Camera caught a figure in a baseball cap walking straight to Dana's house, like he knew the route. At dawn, Dana stood at the edge of my property with 3 men behind her, arms crossed like they brought their own jury. She smiled when she saw me. "Good morning, we're doing a community compliance inspection." One man in a polo stepped forward. "You've got 30 minutes to move your truck or we tow it." I kept my voice calm. "This is private property, that truck is on my land." She checked her watch like an executioner timing a microwave. 29 minutes, she said sweetly. A tow truck arrived 15 minutes later. Driver stepped out, looked at the no trespassing sign, looked at my driveway, hesitated. Dana marched up. "Tow the red truck," she ordered. The driver shook his head. "Ma'am, I can't tow from private property without homeowner authorization or a police order." Dana's smile tightened. "I'm the HOA president, I authorize it." The driver squinted at me, then something clicked. "Wait," he said slowly. "Aren't you Deputy Cole?" The men behind Dana shifted like someone pulled a cord, like the room had been cleared. I didn't smile. I'd worked law enforcement for 20 years, not to flex, but to stop patterns. The tension broke. The men left in a hurry. The tow driver backed his truck out so fast he left fresh tire marks in the grass, and Dana's clipboard suddenly looked less like a weapon and more like a flapping paper. That little twist, of a tow driver recognizing a name, was everything. People like Dana count on obscurity, on anonymity. When someone remembers your past, the mask slips. For 3 days she sulked, no more posts, no SUV blocking the driveway. Then she rallied a crowd, neighbors gathered, 20-odd folks, Dana at the center like a preacher with a clipboard. She announced, "We voted. If you don't bring your property into compliance, we'll file legal action and place a lien for outstanding fines, $14,600. The crowd murmured along, because it's easier to nod than research. That's the other piece, the crowd, the silence, the people who clap because it's simple. I stepped to the edge of the driveway and pulled out the county documents. This house was built in 1956, parcel predates the subdivision, deed proves it isn't in your plat boundaries. "I have certified county documents," I said. Dana snapped, "Documents can be forged." "Good," I said, because I also had confirmation from the HOA's own management company that this address wasn't in their system, and 2 weeks of video showing her vehicle blocking my driveway, trespassing at 3 a.m., screenshots of her accusing me of fraud. The crowd shifted, that dangerous hush of people who suddenly remember they have groceries to get, dogs to walk, errands to run. Dana's support thinned like mist. I called the county deputy supervisor, reported driveway obstruction, documented trespass, ongoing harassment, and 15 minutes later a deputy arrived. Professional, no nonsense. Dana started her HOA speech again. Deputy scrolled through my evidence, looked at Dana, and said, "Move your vehicle immediately." Dana panicked, clipped my mailbox post reversing, cracking wood and all, and the deputy said, "You just damaged personal property after being warned. I'm calling a tow." Real tears rolled down Dana's face then, the kind that come when the script you've been starring in stops working. Tow truck hauled her SUV away, and I didn't jump for joy. I set down a weight I'd been carrying for my aunt. Months later, charges followed, pleading deals on harassment and fraud, restitution, no contact orders, and the HOA board voted Dana out not because they had an epiphany, but because the liability finally looked hot. An envelope one day slid into my mailbox with no return address, floral stationery, 2 shaky words, "I'm sorry." No signature, no accountability, but the paper went on top of her file box anyway. Now here's the question that keeps turning in my head, and it's the part people argue about at parties because no one wants to feel like the crowd that clapped. Dana was the bully, sure. But she didn't do it alone. Who's more responsible when abuse happens? The bully who swings or the crowd that watches and claps until consequences arrive? Is silence complicity? Or is it fear? I want your take. Drop it in the comments. If you've ever dealt with an HOA tyrant, tell that story. Hit like if you've ever been underestimated. Subscribe if you want more real-life stories where the underdog finally pushes back. And one last thing, sometimes justice isn't loud, sometimes it's checking deeds at the county clerk, mounting a camera on a porch, and knocking on neighbors' doors until someone says, I paid too much. That's how we stopped a small-town racket. Not with a viral video, but with papers, patience, and the kind of stubborn that doesn't let people take what isn't theirs. What would you have done? Step back and pay the fine, or stand on the porch and stare down the clipboard until it folds? Tell me below. I'm listening.